She missed her husband every spring, until her cat began bringing her flowers. Every spring, the front porch used to overflow with flowers. It was his favorite season, a time of vibrant life and color. But now, Margaret, a gentle elderly woman, sits on that same porch alone, a cup of tea growing cold in her hands as she stares at the empty garden beds. Her cat, Clover, is a warm purring weight curled at her feet, the only other heartbeat left in their quiet house. The silence is heavy, filled with memories. Margaret's voice is a soft whisper, carried away by the breeze. He used to pick me daisies every single morning. Clover blinks slowly, her green eyes fixed on Margaret, then tilts her head, her gaze shifting towards the garden gate as if she understands. The world felt a little less bright without him, the colors a little more faded. Margaret took a slow sip of her tea, the warmth doing little to chase away the chill of her solitude. She remembered how he'd come in from the garden, his hands smudged with dirt, holding a small cheerful bouquet just for her. It was a simple gesture, but it was their ritual, a daily promise of love. Now, the only promise was the setting sun and another lonely evening. Clover nudged her hand, a soft, insistent press, reminding her that she wasn't entirely alone. Margaret smiled faintly and scratched the cat behind her ears, the purr growing louder, a small engine of comfort in the vast quiet. The next morning, habit led Margaret to the front door to collect the mail she knew hadn't arrived yet. But as she opened it, she froze. There, perfectly placed on the top step, lay a single, flawless white daisy, its petals still holding the morning dew. Her heart gave a jolt. She looked left, then right. The street was empty. There was no one there. Who could have left it? Just then, Clover trotted up from the yard, looking immensely pleased with herself. Margaret noticed a few stray white petals clinging to her soft black fur. A soft, disbelieving laugh escaped Margaret's lips, mingling with the tears that sprang to her eyes. "You didn't," she whispered, kneeling down to get a closer look at her clever little cat. Clover simply meowed, a proud, definitive sound, as if to say, "Well, someone had to do it." Margaret gently picked up the daisy, its stem still slightly damp. She held it to her nose, the familiar, earthy scent filling her senses and unlocking a flood of memories. It was perfect, just like the ones he used to bring. Looking at Clover, who was now rubbing against her leg, purring triumphantly, Margaret felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the morning sun. A single daisy, a single meow, and for the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel quite so empty. It wasn't a one-time fluke. Each morning after that, a new flower appeared on her porch. Sometimes it was another pristine daisy, other times a small brave wild bloom from the edge of the woods. Always fresh, always delivered at the crack of dawn. Margaret began a new ritual. She found a small crystal vase, one she hadn't used in years, and placed it by the kitchen window where the sun would catch it. The first daisy was joined by a second, then a third. The vase slowly filled with an eclectic, beautiful bouquet. The house started to feel alive again, punctuated by these small, daily miracles. Her neighbors began to notice Clover's peculiar morning activities. One of them, Mr. Henderson from across the street, chuckled as he collected his newspaper. "Looks like your cat's been stealing flowers from the park again, Margaret," he called over with a laugh. Margaret just smiled, a genuine warm smile that reached her eyes. She looked down at Clover, who was meticulously grooming a paw on the welcome mat. "She's not stealing," Margaret replied softly, her voice full of affection. "She's remembering." The collection of flowers grew, a testament to a cat's love and a husband's legacy. The small splashes of color against the windowsill were more than just decorations. They were hope. They were a sign that life and love continued on. One breezy morning, Margaret's curiosity finally got the better of her. She decided to follow Clover on her mysterious floral mission. Waking before the sun, she put on her robe and slippers and quietly slipped out the back door, keeping a safe distance. Clover was a creature of habit. With a practiced air, the little cat squeezed through a familiar gap in the back fence and trotted purposefully into the old, overgrown field behind their property. It was a place Margaret hadn't visited in over a year. It was his spot. Margaret stood frozen at the edge of the field, her hand flying to her mouth as she watched. The field was awash with wildflowers, swaying gently in the morning wind. Clover moved through them with a delicate certainty, her nose twitching as she inspected various blooms. Finally, she settled on a bright pink one. Carefully biting the stem and pulling it free, Margaret's eyes welled with tears as she watched Clover turn and begin the journey home, the little pink flower held proudly in her mouth. A tremor ran through her as the realization washed over her, profound and deeply moving. "You found his spot," she whispered to the wind, her voice thick with emotion. "You found his secret garden, didn't you?" The wind stirred the tall grasses, carrying the sweet scent of spring, and for a fleeting magical moment, she felt he was there with her, smiling. Back in the kitchen, Margaret took the little pink bloom from Clover and gently placed it in the vase. It was the final touch. The vase was now full, a vibrant explosion of color and life that lit up the entire room. Clover hopped onto the counter, then gracefully leaped into Margaret's lap, curling up into a tight, purring ball of fur. Margaret stroked the cat's soft back, her heart full. She looked from the radiant bouquet to the little creature nestled in her lap, the messenger of this beautiful second spring. "He's gone," she whispered, her voice steady and clear, filled not with sadness, but with a quiet, profound gratitude. "But somehow, he's still bringing me flowers." As the camera slowly pans out, the morning sunlight floods the porch and streams through the window. The vase of flowers glows in the golden light, a beacon of enduring love. A single petal detaches and drifts down, landing softly near Clover's resting paw. Love doesn't fade. It just finds new messengers. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more heartwarming content. We'll see you in the next one.